Good evening and welcome to the July meeting of the Granville Exempted Village School District. I am Russ Janice, standing in for Board President Jen Corman tonight. Would you please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sobel, would you take the roll?
Ms. Deeds.
Here.
Mr. Janice.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here. Again, welcome. Mr. Brown.
Yes.
I'd like to make accommodations.
Yes, absolutely. So Dick, you're going to have to remember everything that I say, all right? Recite it at the next practice. Yeah. So, good evening. It is a huge honor and privilege for me to honor our girls softball team and coaches, or coach, tonight. In June, our girls softball team played for the state Division II title and won the first state championship in the history of the program. They defeated the LCL rival Lakewood High School 2-1 in a game that was close until the final out was recorded. Their successful season was a true team effort. Their road to the championship was not easy. They had to face Greenville, which was ranked #1 in the state in the regional final, and then they faced Jefferson in the state semifinal, and then Lakewood in the final. To run the gauntlet and win against competition like that truly shows the quality of this team. This is a young team with the benefit of senior leaders who provided them mentorship. Abby Barker, Olivia Simon, Maddie Richardson should be especially proud of their accomplishments. They were very close the past several years and finally got over the hump and took the state championship this year. Abby specifically in the semifinal recorded only the 12th no-hitter in state playoff history. How cool is that? I mean, that's pretty impressive. She does this thing before she pitches, the running pitch.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I were standing in the batter's box, I would run the other direction. It's truly amazing, and it's intimidating as heck. So I understand why she does it. It's pretty cool. It was really fun to watch the semifinal, and I followed the final game on Twitter as I was traveling down to Georgia. Thank you, Mr. Durst, who's out there. And I think the whole village of Granville was pulling for our girls. So we are very proud of them, and I want to thank Ray, John, and Dick for their successful year and all their effort and leadership. Before I bring Dick up and give him all of these pins to give to the kids, I want to share a funny story. This is a side. I got a call this weekend from my mom up in Chardon, Ohio, and she says, "Hi, honey, are you at the game?" And I said, "What game, Mom?" She goes, "Well, I'm watching Granville softball play in the championship." And I said, "Mom, that happened a while ago. That's called replay." And she's like, "Oh, well, did they win?" I was like, They did, and we talked about that a month ago, but that's okay." So she got a lesson in Sports Ohio replay, but it was fantastic. So Dick, congratulations, and please come on up, and I'm going to give you a whole bunch of pins to give to the kids. I'm going to give you a whole bunch, and then you tell me if you have enough or not. Okay, and then give them to the coaches too. Okay. Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Very well done. You guys, and it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, if you had been around this team at the beginning of the year, you would have thought this team wouldn't have gone anywhere. I mean, we had more problems than you could imagine. I mean, one of them losing 4 seniors from last year, key positions. We had a couple of kids quit on us, and we had to fill key positions. Like Anna Moorhead, she's been our catcher, and year before she broke her hand, couldn't play. Then last year in basketball, for ACL, she couldn't play. So we had to come up with a catcher. I mean, that's a big position to fill. And we had 4 freshmen that stepped up this year. And
They did a great job.
by the end of the year, they were playing like seniors. And it was just a great ride. And
Well, congratulations.
yeah, he talked about Abby Parker. I told John when we started in the district, I said, John, I said, this team here scores 5 or 6 runs a game. I said, we're going to win this thing. Because Abby Parker doesn't give up runs. And she proved that back in 2013 through the whole tournament run. I think she gave up 1 run. That's where we lost in the semifinals at the state. And then through this year, I think we only gave, 2 runs? Through the whole tournament. Wow. And that's really saying something. And, like I was talking about at the beginning of the year, you never thought this team would have gone anywhere. Halfway through the year, we did a team building thing. And one of the parents, Mr. Garman, came in, and we did a scavenger hunt. And we had cliques on the team. We probably had about 3 little cliques on the team. The kids were all separate. They haven't come together. So we did this team building thing. Mr. Garman gave a speech to them down at Carino's. We had a little pizza party for them. They did a scavenger hunt in town. So we divided all the girls from their cliques and put them with other kids that they didn't hang out with. And I think that's what really brought the team together. And from there on out, you can see the difference in the team.
Fantastic.
All right. Thanks.
And next Wednesday, the village council will be honoring the softball team as well with a proclamation, so.
Well,
Yeah. Start drumming up the business now. Yes.
well deserved.
Yes. So that ends our commendations, and if the board's going to continue to do their work, so if you want to enjoy the evening, feel free.
I don't want to bug out on you, but today's my anniversary.
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate you being
I
here.
really
Yeah.
appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Thank you.
For coming on your anniversary.
Thank you.
All right. Which takes us into our staff report.
Staff reports.
And Mr. Sobel, and I'm going to jump in with a few things that were snuck in on the budget conversation related to academics.
Yeah, and this will be brief, mostly because I was threatened if it wasn't.
I take full credit and responsibility for that.
Basically, what I'm going to do is quickly just go through the provisions of the budget, preliminarily what I think it's going to do as far as us in our 5-year forecast, and just touch briefly on the year-end close. We actually came close to closing. We're about 3/4 of the way through the closing. We'll get the year closed tomorrow morning, but we're all balanced and everything, so we do know how everything finished out, but not in time to do the reports. The budget, in general, the budget was good news for us. The things that were in there that could have hurt us ended up not in there. The things that we were really advocating for that would help us were in there. The one piece that was not happy was in there, the governor vetoed. That would not have had a direct impact on us, but would have had some very serious, I think, long-term consequences. And the governor did veto that. The highlights, the big thing for us was the wealth index, and keeping the wealth index to the point where it cannot hurt districts, which it couldn't under the current formula. They did tinker with the wealth index a little bit, but only if it helped school districts. It did not do anything to harm districts like ours, and that's a good thing. A couple of the other things that they did is, there's an attempt to drive money to a lot of lower income, lower capacity districts. There's a lot of movement to drive income towards agricultural districts who have been harmed under state aid because of all the increases in ag value that have been going on over the last couple of years. So, the portion of targeted assistance that goes towards agricultural. They really beefed that up quite a bit. We don't get targeted assistance, so it makes no difference that they did that. The legislature added 4 new funding pieces. Governor vetoed one of them. Capacity aid, which is geared towards really not really low wealth, but smaller districts, based on how much they can yield from a mill of tax. It goes to those 50% smallest districts. We are not one of those. That's okay. So we didn't get any of that. They did create 2 things that can benefit us in the long run. They did add a graduation bonus, which is based on a 4-year average graduation rate, and a 3rd grade reading bonus, which is based on proficiency results. Those would yield money to us, except for the fact that I believe we're going to end up on the guarantee, so they won't. And then they did add a provision that the governor vetoed that would have helped districts who are extremely wealthy, who get essentially less than $1,200 a pupil in total state aid, to bring them up at least to what non-public schools get, but the governor opted to veto that.
I'd like to say that one more time. There are public school districts in the state of Ohio that receive less revenue than non-public chartered schools.
Or non-public.
Or non-public
religious.
or religious schools.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that we advocated for quite regularly.
Yeah. Granville Christian gets more money per student than Olentangy and Upper Arlington and districts like that.
Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get more revenue to say per pupil than those districts do, because of the way the formula works. Again, most of the other features in here don't really impact us that much. The rest of the funding structure was pretty much left in place from what it had been. The base formula amount increases $100 per pupil each year. The special education and K-3 literacy and career tech does that. They do get some added money. The other ones stay the same. We will get hurt. The maximum amounts on the Peterson and autism scholarships were increased from $20,000 per pupil to $27,000. So that will cost us some money, that extra $7,000 per pupil. One thing that did happen that actually in the long run may generate some money from us as we look at expanding our career tech offerings, through what we're doing as far as with C-Tech, is starting in the 16-17 school year, career tech funding is excluded from both the cap and the guarantee calculations. What that means is if we stay on the guarantee, which we probably will for the next 2 years, if we do expand our career tech offerings, with the C-Tech program and with the, some of the robotics and the computer programming that we may offer, and are able to get funding from, career technical funding from that, we actually will get the revenue from that even if we are on the guarantee. So it will be calculated starting in 16-17 outside of the guarantee calculation. So again, that's a good thing for us, if we get to that point. The TPP reimbursement was partly phased out with a 1-year hold harmless. We lost that in 2013, so it's not impacting us. The only place it does impact us, we do get about $10,000 a year for our PI and half-mill maintenance levies. That will go away over 2 years. But that's obviously not a major revenue hit for us. And then the last piece, which you notice on the second page, what the governor did veto, was a switch in the tax on electric production equipment, which, that obviously has no impact on us. We don't have any. But what the impact that was really bad was the way they funded the replacement money for it was essentially to divert local property taxes from local schools and other local governments to the state. That is pretty unconstitutional, among other things. The governor did veto that provision, again, which is a good. I think the reason that we left it in here is this may be back at some point. I would be surprised if this is not back at some point, but I think it will be back the next time with a replacement funding source that is a little more constitutional. This was added in by the Senate in the omnibus amendment. It never had a hearing at all. There was no public debate. A lot of us had no idea it was even coming until it showed up in the Senate amendment. And it was a pretty substantial change to show up in the budget that way. And that was what the governor's message was, is there needed to be some hearings on this, and it had to be need a little more open debate before it was ready for prime time. So that's really the highlights of what's in there. I think because of what the process and what went on, where the House really made an attempt to change the funding source and got pretty well beaten down on that in conference committee, I think that may mean that we really will see moving forward building off of the current formula. And that's, for us, that's a good thing. You know, we may, potentially, we could lose some money over time, but we're not going to get thrown $1 million or $2 million onto a guarantee like we would have been under the governor's proposal or under what the House had passed. So that's
And I think, again, the challenge with that when you look at the numbers, you think, well, that's $1 million of revenue to the school, but it's really phantom revenue.
Right.
It's the promise of money, and if you listen to all the rhetoric, they really don't like guarantees. So that could be gone in a minute, and then you're in the situation where we found ourselves with TPP with the loss of $750,000 really in one fell swoop. And then you're in a situation where you're going through a reduction in force again. So this is much more stable.
Yeah, and the problem would have been at that point, if we were $1 million on the guarantee, essentially, we're not on a funding formula anymore. We're a line item in the state budget.
Right.
That's all we are. We're an appropriation item.
Easy to delete.
Easy to delete
Yep.
or reduce, yeah.
There were, are you
Okay,
done?
yeah, I'm done.
Okay. There were several educational policy items brought into the state budget as well. I would say the main one has to do with the assessment system for next year. As you know, the state budget precludes the state from using park assessments in the future. So it eliminated that. In a quick turnaround, ODE identified AIR, which provided the Science and Social Studies platform this year to develop and implement their math and reading assessments aligned to the Common Core. They actually have provided those assessments to other states that are aligned to the Common Core. So I believe that those assessments are developed and ready to be tweaked for Ohio. The nice part is that we will be on a single testing platform instead of PARC and AIR. We will be down to a single test window except for third grade, which still has a fall and a spring assessment. But the rest will be an end of the year assessment window, significantly shrinking the number of hours that students will be in those testing scenarios. I think if there was one really glaring issue with what happened last year, it was the volume of the assessments that took place and the loss of instructional time that students endured. So I think, if you look at what we advocated for in House Bill 74 and Senate Bill 3 with Chairman Hayes and Senator Lehner, a lot of those provisions are now in the budget. There will be follow-up legislation because there has to be related to some of the things that have to be determined quickly for implementation in 15-16. The other thing that we advocated for was getting that information back to us sooner. One of the things that we do is if a student is experiencing difficulty, we want to provide intervention. And that intervention can take place during summer months if it's necessary. So we've really advocated for getting that information to us back as soon as possible, especially the third grade reading information, so that the guarantee and the retention policy doesn't kick into place for a child.
but that we can continue to assess them and get them up to speed prior to being retained. So there are elements related to College Credit Plus, graduation, gifted, teacher evaluation, K-3 literacy. There are a lot of different provisions. We're looking, Ryan and I spent a couple of hours today looking at all of the language. Some of it impacts us, some of it doesn't. One of the things that was removed was the exemption for high-performing school districts. But safe harbor provisions were put in place for the local report card and ranking and teacher evaluation. So again, our advocacy efforts, I think, are evident in this legislation.
It sounds like the devil's still in the details on a lot of this because it's so fresh, but at least in the concept of shortening the testing time and getting the results back sooner so that you really can intervene.
Yeah.
Are the two critical pieces here.
Yeah. I think what our continued advocacy effort should be is a broader conversation about accountability for what. And I think we take the approach of let the locals decide the accountability structure, but have some, I would say general parameters at the state level. But our internal metrics and what we put into our state of the schools are much more robust than what the state of Ohio produces. But we really need to think about accountability to what end. And if accountability starts to actually impact the quality of the education that's being provided, then I think we're making a grave mistake. And what we want accountability to is individual students, and what we value from an assessment perspective is what helps drive our instruction, not necessarily what ranks us against our comparison group. And I think that's a huge delineation between the politics of education and the practice of education.
What do you think the next step is on that path?
We're continuing our conversations. The conversations are not over, and we've started that conversation with several key legislators, because we know that conversation needs to continue. So, and I think they're more apt to listen right now because of the colossal issues that we faced last year.
Well, I think we all recognize how much time and effort each of you put into your advocacy, your testimony, your informing a lot of the key decision makers down in Columbus about both the budget and the testing and assessment issues. And you both are really strong leaders across the entire state in those initiatives. And it's to our benefit, to the benefit of the Granville students, that you do that, and you do that really, frankly, outside of your day jobs. So thank you for what you do, and please let us know what we can do to continue to support that, and to generate additional support for those kind of important changes.
I think we saw some of the grassroots issues really impacting decisions this year. So I think some of those concepts, I know our community group has talked about, forming more of an advocacy platform. So I think we're going to continue to do that.
I think it's critically important, and it can make a difference. I mean, I think about, for example, when the governor's budget first came out, and then when the House passed, or when the House indicated where they were going to make changes, neither of those would have been very favorable for us and a number of other school districts. And I know, Mike, you spent a lot of time talking to a lot of folks, and you played a significant role in swaying decision makers on that. So that kind of grassroots effort does make a difference. Jeff, I know you did the same thing with respect to those issues as well. So it's an example of how people with knowledge and the ability to share that knowledge can make a difference, and I commend you both for it.
Mike actually taught me a lot about the advocacy side of things. No, he really did. I mean, I've done it a couple of times, but I've done it more this year than I ever have before. And he really is a treasure to have. So
it's a huge benefit for the Granville schools and for our communities. Thank you both.
Thank you.
And if I could make a quick request, I know there's been a lot of staff members and community members that have been thinking about testing and reducing testing, and there was that innovation group that was formed. So if you'd be willing to send a quick note to them with just maybe even a summary of the highlights or something like that.
We drafted something for the staff today and sent
Great,
it out.
fantastic, great.
But we're going to.
If you make sure it
then
goes
take
out to that innovation
group
group specifically, I think that's a good closure there to
Yep.
make sure that they understand how things move forward. So,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Just at the end of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
go
Okay,
ahead.
the last part of this, just briefly, the second last page, is the top of that is kind of where the 5-year forecast is now. With knowing what we know about the funding formula, this is still a work in progress. I'm still working in all the staffing changes that we're going through and getting new folks in. Yeah, there's some decision-making that we still need to do on some items. So this is certainly not a final picture, but it is a picture of where we are. The highlight, fiscal year 17 now, we are expected to run in the black instead of the red. We have been close to $200,000 in the red because of the changes in the budget. We're now projecting to run a very slight operating surplus in the 16-17 school year. The out years, again, we're still working on, and we'll be making some decisions and some things over the next couple of days. The cash balance on the bottom half still looks good. Nothing has really changed there. The last page is just kind of the summary of our revenues and expenditures. It shows essentially the October forecast, the May forecast, and where we actually finished. You see most everything is very close to where we've been expecting. The one real outlier in there, the restricted aid, you see it at 195% above what we thought in May and 37% in October. That was because in May we were kind of led to believe we would not be getting our catastrophic cost reimbursements that were for fiscal year 15 in fiscal year 15, but we did end up getting them about a week before they closed the fiscal year, and that was the source of that big chunk of money. Everything else really, both on the spending and the revenue side, we're really pretty close to both where we're expecting to be in October and where we're expecting to be in May. So there's really not a big overall change in our financial picture compared to where we're expecting to be. This is the financial report for the month. There will not be one to adapt because we have not closed the month. So in August, you'll have both the June and July financial reports for the August meeting.
So it's overall good news. We're happy to have this one.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is the period of time when we open the meeting for public comments. If there are any folks here who would like to make any comments about anything relevant to the school district, we'd love to hear them. Seeing none, we will move on to board reports.
I think we've already covered the legislative liaison conversation. Anything on
The only thing with the Newark Granville Community Authority is we had the resignation of another member who sold his house and is moving out of the area, so we now have 2 vacancies. But I haven't actually had 2 people who've expressed interest in being appointed.
Okay.
So we'll probably go through. They actually have to be appointed by the county commissioners
Ah.
because of how the charter is written. So I'll probably work through a process of getting them appointed.
When does that have to happen in any certain time?
No, because there'll be no more action again that the authority will take until January.
Okay.
So there's no, again, if we end up not doing it, it's not a big deal. We should get that. I would like to get them filled before, the organizational meeting in January.
Okay. Thank you.
And the Granville Education Foundation is kind of off for the summer. It hasn't had any more meetings, so I don't have any more updates at this time.
That takes us to our action agenda. So I would like to recommend approval of 9.01, unpaid leave of absence.
So moved?
Second.
Take the poll.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Janese?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 9.02 is the annual renewal of the food service agreement.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, so we entered into a 5-year agreement, but it's
technically supposed to be renewed every year. So it's really just an updating of our current agreement with ABI. And in September, Tanya and John are going to do a presentation on the food service from last year.
And the renewal is an annual renewal?
Yes.
But it's sort of on a 5-year.
5 years.
projection.
It's actually an automatic renewal. This is just required for, I think federal
Federal funding.
funding requires the board to reapprove it each year, but the renewal itself is automatic unless either party moves to terminate it.
That's right.
Okay, thanks. Questions or comments?
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Thank you. 9.03 is the approval of the technology coach job description. That position is currently titled technology aide, and we're just changing the language. The job description is staying exactly the same, but we are changing the title.
So moved. Second.
And so is that building specific then?
It's at the elementary and intermediate school.
Okay. And that's, yeah, and there's a refilling a position there, or there's someone that's left, or is it just changing the title
Yeah,
of an
we
existing individual?
we hired Beth Downing at the last board
Right,
meeting.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Next item is 9.04, approval of the application and technology coordinator job description. So there's two positions, application coordinator and technology coordinator. With Mr. Sexton's departure, we've decided to redesign our technology staff, and you'll see an item in the addendum where we're promoting Glenn Welker, who's currently our systems administrator, to the technology coordinator position, which will be the lead position of the two.
So moved. Already?
No, we need a motion. Amy?
Second.
made the motion?
Amy made a motion
Right.
and Katie seconded it.
Katie said.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear it say, that's all right.
Okay.
Discussion?
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Thank you. Now if we move to the addendum, there are some more action items there. We have an additional unpaid leave of absence, 9.05.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
And in the action item that I just referenced, 9.06, approval of technology coordinator.
So
Glenn.
moved.
Second.
And does the technology application specialist report to the technology coordinator?
Yes, they will, and they will both report to Mr. Burnett
Okay.
on the academic side of things.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
If Glenn were here, we'd say congratulations, but I'm sure he's watching at home.
Congratulations.
Next item, 9.07, approval of middle school physical education teacher.
So moved. Second.
And this is the position, the one-year position for the position that Sue Borchers is vacating for a year.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Okay, now we can go back to the consent agenda. 10.01A through B. 7.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and just a few things to highlight. We have most of our standard items. We've identified our kindergarten bus route drivers for this year. One of the things that I would like to recognize is the resignation of Mr. Sexton. He's going to that other place that I know a little bit about. And Rob, have you ever earned an Excellence Award pin?
No, I can't say that.
You know what? I think you deserve one. Come on up here.
Now, I want you to know that when Mr. Sexton was hired, congratulations, we were operating off of one server. And now we have 54 servers that run a lot more of our day-to-day operations, and he's automated a lot of the things that we do. And I really feel like, he put the infrastructure in place now to take us to that next level, and I think Schoology is another technology platform that is going to help us take that next step even deeper into the classroom and the impact. So he really has done a fantastic job. He knows his business, and now he's got to go do some more work in a different environment. So I won't mention where, but I do know it well. So congratulations, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, that was a little impromptu, but you have to do that or else they know it's coming. We have 4 additional staff members that we are hiring. We have a part-time science teacher, a first grade teacher, a part-time orchestra teacher, and a intervention specialist. All of them are coming with some level of experience. So we're very pleased to have more people joining our staff. Finally, our supplemental contracts. You can see the long list of continuing our supplemental contract approval for the near future. I will tell you that we have a part-time kindergarten position, and we are looking for ELL support as well. So those are the 2 positions that we currently have available. And then we should be done for the hiring season, which will be great. And I want to give a kudos and a shout out to Tanya Sherburne, who put together a hiring process that has been new this year with some new technology, Applitrak's being one of them, and it's been fantastic. So appreciate that. You're welcome.
Discussion? Questions? No? Thank you.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye. With thanks and appreciation from the board to Mr. Sexton, and best wishes in your new position. We'll miss you.
Move to adjourn.
I was waiting for it.
A second.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.